Welcome to the Wisdom of Women show. We are dedicated to amplifying the voice of women in business. A new model of leadership is emerging, and we are here to amplify the voices of women leading the way. I am your host, Coco Sellman, 5-time founder, impact investor, and creator of the Force for Good system. Thank you so much for joining us today as we illuminate the path to unlocking opportunities and prosperity for women-led organizations and amplifying the voice and wisdom of women. So today we have such a great topic and a wonderful founder here to join us. We have with us today Danielle Laurent. She is a trailblazing HR leader. This is so important because people are our most important asset. And she has over 2 decades of expertise in transforming startups and tech firms through strategic HR solutions. Think about strategy that you can have with your people, and Danielle is your person. So Danielle's experience spans from shaping thriving cultures to spearheading intricate talent acquisitions. She's a confidant to executive teams. She architects scalable strategies, designs comprehensive benefit frameworks, and ensures seamless integrations during acquisitions. As the CEO of Founders HR Lab, Danielle is driven by leveraging data-driven HR analytics, I love that, and technology to fuel peak performance while empowering organizations to achieve sustainable growth. I'm so happy you're here, Danielle. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Coco. I appreciate that introduction.
Yeah, glad you're here. And as you know, I always like to ask the question, what's a book written by a woman that has significantly influenced your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So first things first, I love women empowering other women. And so when I was about mid-career, I read Secrets of Six-Figure Women by Barbara Stanny. And while that does not sound like a big deal now, back then, hitting that six-figure mark was a huge deal. And I wanted to see, how do I get to that next level, just that next level of my career? And what I really took from that book was, she interviewed several six-figure women. And it was almost like they didn't see that it was a big deal. They had worked so hard and, they were like, oh, I'm just doing the thing. I've taken opportunities. I've worked hard. And this is where I am today. So what I really took from that was that there was no secret barrier to entry. It really was to take the opportunities you have, to really work hard, to really be focused on where you want to be and really visualize sort of what your career goals are. And so it really stuck with me. And I know it's a lot of people might say 6 figures. I think 2025. I don't know what that next milestone is, but at the time, I think it really is something emotional that says, hey, I really made it. And and what I loved was in that book, you get to really think about how far you've come and where you are today. And I think that's important for all of us to do on a regular basis anyway. So
I love that. Danielle, I'm a big fan of Barbara Stanny, and I've read Secrets of Six-Figure Women. I did a year-long course with her. She is amazing and highly recommend Secrets of Six-Figure Women. It's really, I think she gives you a lot of practical advice, right, about how to put your financial self in order and puts it in the context of your values and your desires. And I agree. It's like 6 figures, just a placeholder for your dreams, right? You could be thinking 7-figure, 8-figure, or whatever it is. So it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even about the number per se, but it's about taking your power back with numbers and money and wealth and putting yourself in a place where you can, achieve whatever goals you have with your prosperity.
absolutely.
I love it. What a great recommendation. Thanks for bringing Barbara back into my mind.
Yeah, I know. I love that. Like, I gotta check out this workshop. That sounds awesome.
Well, I did it. It was when I think it was right about when I turned 40. So it's about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what she's doing now,
Yeah.
but it was really fun. And I think since then she's been married and remarried, I should say. And anyway, check out Barbara Stanny and six secrets of six figure women, right?
Absolutely.
Well, let's get to you, Danielle. I'm excited because I just sold my healthcare company, which
Oh,
we had,
congratulations.
was a nursing company. So we our value was the people. And, we had over 300 nurses that were out in the field doing great work. And so HR was a big, big strategic part, most strategic part of my company. So tell us about Founders HR Lab. And what is your vision for it? What do you want to create through your company?
Absolutely. And I agree. People are the most important resource, if you will. I think, and I always love to say, once you are a founder and you're at a place where you're hiring people, you've reached a certain level of success. Like if you're employing people, it's just such a huge accomplishment. And so um you're at the point where you need to take care of that investment, take care of the people that work for you who are going to help you continue to grow your business. So really when I decided to found Founders HR Lab, it was really because I wanted to empower other founders who were growing their business. They were starting to hire people and they were starting to scale and really helping them to build out that runway so that they didn't come to a place where, okay, I have these folks, they've done such great work for me. Now they're disgruntled. Now they're unhappy. Now they're leaving. And now I may end up in a situation where I'm having to start over again. I want founders my vision is really for founders to be excited about their business, to be doing the things that they're so smart about. The whole reason that they started their business, and it was not to learn how to do HR. But what it is to grow their businesses in the way in their own vision, and then help to give their employees opportunities and to have their employees help them grow their business. So my vision is really to empower that by creating people, strategies, and solutions that are really going to be enablers to all of that.
Awesome. 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 And as I think about before we started our interview here, we were talking about how sometimes when you're starting a company and you're getting it off the ground and you hire your first few people, you and I had this experience where I had a staff that didn't have HR experience.
Right.
And so we were kind of learning as we went. And boy, it's a lot. There's a lot to the HR function. There's a lot of risk. There's a lot of opportunity. There's, so many things that you never think of.
Right.
And so having some help there is really, really, really valuable. And you know, I've run into kind of all kinds of things over the time. And so going from 0 employees to 300 in a very
Right.
short period of time, like I totally value what you do. So maybe can you share us a specific example of a complex HR challenge that you helped a company overcome? And what
Sure.
were the strategies or what were you thinking about to bring the company through that challenge?
Sure. Well, first there's kind of I like to kind of put them in three categories of situations that companies I've worked for, company clients that I currently have run into. So you either get the just like you said, Coco, as far as okay, we're new and scrappy and we have to just kind of do it ourselves. We've been employees before, so we could probably figure it out. Um they're going to maybe hire somebody right off who is maybe more of a junior HR person because they're inexpensive, which may work fine for a time, but then that company can't scale because that junior HR person doesn't have the strategic knowledge or support to help the business scale. So that's one group of folks that I like to help. Then there's also the bucket where, a startup may have just got funding, so they hire very heavy. They're going to hire executive HR leaders because they know they do need that expertise. but the business may not be financially ready for that investment of a CHRO, a chief human resource officer. And then, or you have startups who, again, just go for a very long time and don't hire anyone in HR, and then they run into those blockers. So, in this case, in these three different buckets, I realized the fractional CHRO, the HR part-time HR executive can really come in and be the best of both worlds. You're giving that expert level, you're going to give that expert level advice and advisory services, but you're also going to be a fraction of the cost and a fraction
Mhm.
of the investment. So, um, as far as how I've helped other companies is really, so say the larger company around, say 300 employees. I had a client who they have had they had a very junior level HR person, and they acquired several different companies. So they grew quickly to 300 employees without any HR infrastructure whatsoever. So I came in and I was able to I sort of say it's sort of like building a house. You build the infrastructure, you get the policies in place, you get the technology in place, you get the buy-in from the employee population, the excitement around the employee population. You build out compensation strategies, which eventually could cause you lots of money in the future. Compensation philosophies. Who are we? How do we pay our people? What will that look like in the future? What benefits do we have that really represent who we are? And again, how is this going to be scalable in the future? So, really building it out for companies who have been well established for a while, as well as smaller companies who are just at, I have clients who are at 15 employees and they've said, hey, we've done this for as long as we can on our own. And everything is hard now. Now the founder has said, hey, I'm in the weeds too much with HR. And like you said, I don't know what I don't know at this point. And so they're growing in other states. So I've come in, built them out automation, which I love. Automation. So if I go win the lottery one day, they can still onboard their employees. They can still take good care of their employees. So those are really examples of how, I help my current clients, but also can help future clients.
I love it. Well, and I think for anybody who's listening, if you're a founder and you're listening and you have a team, I don't care if you have 3 employees, people that you are paying, it's important to have at least some advice coming to you about HR. Um, I mean, early in my career, I made mistakes. I got in trouble because I wasn't paying somebody as a W-2. I was paying them as a 1099, and I had given them a computer they could use. So I had to pay all kinds of fees. So like it was a lesson I learned really early on that even if you have somebody working very part-time for you, if you don't know the rules and you don't know the basic structure and you don't start just getting those pieces in place, it can be a big deal, but it doesn't have to be, right? If you
Right.
have if you have somebody that's a HR expert like Danielle here, you can not have those worries.
Right.
'Cause then as you grow, I mean, we used to hire 15 nurses a month. And
Wow.
so, yeah, so think about that recruiting funnel, right?
Oh, right.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I
then
mean,
the onboarding and the 90 days, like, you don't want to hire somebody and then lose them 5 minutes later. And,
right.
so
Absolutely. I have one client that I just built out automated onboarding for. It took them 2 weeks to onboard one employee prior to me starting. Literally yesterday, we onboarded 9 people
yeah,
in no time because you build out that infrastructure up front, and then it saves everyone time and the experience it provides to those employees. They're like, "Wow, I'm so taken care of. They've really thought about me." And to your point too, HR a good HR leader will come in immediately and say, "Hey, these people are not properly categorized." I did
yes,
a large assessment for one of my clients and found that they were not paying state taxes in a new remote environment. So, it's be, Of course, they didn't get in trouble, nothing happened, but we prevented it and they're fine now, and
Yeah.
you just don't wanna get to a place where you run
Right.
into those.
Well, I mean, and the rules and laws change all the time. I,
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm in New York, and we just this year, everybody, doesn't matter if you hire one person or none. Like, if you have one person or 1,000, you have to pay them PTO
Oh,
and
yeah.
so sick leave. So you have to. It's no longer like a threshold. So if you don't know that and you're not paying attention, you could have somebody, like, come after you because you're not paying them PTO, and then, that's a situation. So just having somebody who's there for you and can help you, like, navigate those little things that are coming up is really important.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you've mentioned it, and I wanna go a little further because I'm a big fan of systems
Yes, me too.
because it's their freedom at the end. Like, it takes some
Yes.
effort and energy to set systems up, whether it's, physical systems or technology systems, but where everyone can, there's a track that can be run, and then over time it just starts to really seed itself. So how can HR analytics and technology be leveraged to drive performance and growth?
Absolutely. I mean, it is in every single element of the employee experience from the day that they are interviewed, right? That's through an applicant tracking system, potentially, right? How quickly are you able to get back to candidates? What kind of experience are you providing to them? How does that help you interview quicker? How do you know you're having the same type of conversations with each candidate, right? Are you're not in the position of discrimination at all, right? So really from the start to the finish, how are you offboarding employees, right? Did you make sure that they're getting their final pay for the state that they're in? Are they getting their final benefits? So really systems are from every stage and really that analytics piece, right? If you're doing employee engagement surveys, pulse check strategies, performance management tracking, when you have great systems in place, it can really help you to determine where you're going to spend your money and efforts in your people strategies for the future, right? So if you don't know what your employees care about, if you don't know what areas are making the greatest impact, how do you know where to spend money? How do you know where to spend your resources? You could think, "Oh, I think this is what the population cares about. I think this is what benefits they want." You put them in place and then they end up underutilized. You're wasting money and then you have to start all over again. So where that data really comes from, you can say, "Okay, I see that what we're having issues with is maybe manager training. Let's invest in
Um,
our managers. Let's develop them, right? Okay, I see that we're having an issue with employees feeling engaged, feeling like they know what's going on in the company. Let's work on
yeah.
transparent communications and creating programs and tools that will help us better communicate with our employees, right? So um everybody hates the performance management system. It feels cumbersome, it burns a lot of calories. Let's create one that is really for our employees and that represents our culture. So the data analytics help you know where to really take your people strategies and make the most impact.
I love that. It's so I'm thinking about all the different ways that what you are saying really applies,
Right.
and how often it's easy to not do the net
Right.
promoter scores. It's easy to not take all the steps, but when you do, it makes a big difference. The other thing that I think about is when you're first starting out, it's so hard, I think,
Right.
to get the best talent, and you can't always give them the best benefits. You can't
Right.
always pay them, as much as somebody else might be able to pay them. So you need to create a really great culture, a place
Right.
where you love working. You feel like you've got the best boss in the world. The culture is so on tap for you. And so if you don't have those systems in place and you're not tracking it, you're going to lose people because somebody else is going to just dangle a little more money in front of them and they're going to go. But
Absolutely.
they'll stay if it's the right fit. Do you see that happening?
Oh, absolutely. I just had one client, I built out an entire, so one of the issues their employees have complained about was the fact that there was no career pathing. It's a small
Yes.
company. They basically have to wait for someone to die to get promoted, right? So, what I did was create an entire career pathing system. So you don't have to, ascend upwards, but you can really ascend and get, increases in pay and things like that. So they have a dedicated recruiter, and of course they can't pay the largest salaries, but the recruiter was able to tell them, "Hey, we have career pathing. We have codified ways to get promoted in our company." And that really was a huge selling point for them. They were able to say, "Hey, we're practicing what we preach. Are ways to grow in this company." So, yeah,
And I
data.
think,
Yeah,
yeah, and I think, Danielle, that I love what you're saying. And I hope that every founder is listening to this point, because what it, what your ears might be hearing is, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with these people. I don't know how I'm going to grow them. I have no way to do that.
right,
Actually, you do. There's
right.
lots of ways to grow them, and you can do it very inexpensively. It's different ways to help them. You can align your goals with whatever it is, and you can give them little perks along the way, right? I mean, I mean, I'm sure this is something you have a lot of experience in. And
Yeah.
so it doesn't have to break the bank to put in these kinds of structures.
Yeah, and back to your point about data, right? Finding out what they really care about. And, one company I implemented all the employees wanted was to be recognized.
Yeah.
And they just wanted to know, they wanted ways to know what other people were doing and celebrate each other. So I implemented a recognition tool, and they were just like, "This is the best thing." Like, they were so excited, and it didn't cost a lot of, it wasn't uh tens of $1,000s of raises across the board. It was, "Oh, I'm energized, I'm excited about what we're doing, and I love getting recognized." So there's so many different ways to do exactly what you said, get people excited and feel like they're being taken care of and appreciated.
I love that. So how, when you're working with a founder and a team, and you're looking at their internal culture and what it feels like, and how do you support a structure or a team that maybe doesn't have as much trust and transparency in place?
Right.
I know I've worked with a lot of founders over the years, and sometimes we just sort of do everything ourselves,
Yeah.
and we think that that we should, and that others maybe shouldn't know about the details of the business. How do you help transform a culture that is maybe not as open or transparent? And what are the lessons that you've seen from doing that?
Yeah, I think that really falls a lot into like organiz- organizational development and
Mm.
accountability. So let's really look at how the organization is structured so we make sure that the founder is not bearing the full load, because most likely they have people who want to take on some responsibility and have some autonomy, right? So
Yes.
let's reorganize the structure of the company to make sure you have the right people in the right places. And
Yep.
then let's create a process of accountability. So let's identify what the goals of the business are, and then how each person is part of that puzzle piece, and communicate that, right? Because everybody wants to know how they're making a contribution. Most people don't want to just come to work and collect a paycheck. They want to know how they're affecting the business. So, how founders can really do this is by creating that system and process of accountability. And there are many things that come along with that, right? So, like establishing goals, working with a leadership team to help organize that, systems in place to track those goals and that accountability, and then also providing visibility um for the entire company. Like, if I am a brand new employee and I can see all the way up to how I'm helping the founder of the company, that's huge, right? And it builds morale, and it gets people excited and motivated. So really, I think that again, and you mentioned this before, it takes some work up front. But if
Mhm.
you have somebody who come like myself who will come in and help run the process
Yeah.
and just work with the founder to say, this match, how does this feel? Does this feel like this is speaking to your vision? And then really building off of that. And then everyone else can build toward that as well. They can bring their expertise in and help the organization. And that's really one of the main ways to scale a business, in my opinion, as well.
I completely agree with you. And I do think that sometimes as founders we get in our own way.
Right.
And having somebody from the outside help us sort of take all that's in our little heads about how we're growing and what our goals are and like taking it out of our heads and putting it
Right.
out into the world and to our teams in a structured and clear and concise and fun way, then it empowers them. Now
It
they can
does.
finally do all the things you wish they were doing all along, but they couldn't read your mind, right?
Right.
And there wasn't a system in place that they could use to do it, right? So,
Yeah.
and you do it in little bits at a time, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be boil the ocean and over tip the apple cart all at once. You can take little like, okay, let's get our goals in place and how does everybody in the organization align with that goal,
Yeah.
right?
And it's such a great opportunity for people to learn as well, right?
Oh,
So,
yes.
okay,
Yes.
I mean, okay, we had this leadership meeting and these things came out of it. And then that leader gets to go and have the same type of meeting with their team and
Yes.
strategize with their team. And then the people on their team get to learn, like, wow, I'm so excited. This is how I'm going to contribute to that. And then like having those company meetings where you can keep everybody can share what the goals of the company are, how far we come, the successes. Again, it really builds that transparent culture. It
Yeah,
takes a lot of the burden off of the founder
totally.
to say, okay, I get to focus on again why I started this business in the first place. Uh, yeah.
And just as someone who just exited, you have to have this in place. If you
Right.
ever want to exit, if you ever want to sell
Absolutely.
your company, you have to have all these pieces in place. And it will totally free you up if you have these systems in place because now you're not trying to do everything. You really have a system to step back and there's accountability for all the goals and you know things are all happening whether you're pushing them along or not. And um, so I would just love to know here, the Wisdom of Women show. I always really want to hear from your heart and your soul about the wisdom that you've learned and gathered over your career as a person, as a woman, as a leader, and like what is it that you have learned and what would you like to share with us as your wisdom for today?
Sure. Well, there's a few things, but I think one of the main things is to really be clear on your vision. Um, of course, we all have our self doubts, but be clear on your vision and then take steps toward it. Because especially if you are a founder, or if you're looking to be starting to start your own business, you're already taking steps that many people want to do and maybe have been a little too fearful to do. And you're already doing that. So really believe in your vision, stay on the path. If backslide and you just get back on there and forgive yourself and continue on. And yeah, and I think always celebrating how far you've come, which I have to remind myself to do a lot. It's easy. We just sort of sometimes think we've arrived where we were and we forget all that it took to get there. So taking time to be proud of yourself and really reflecting on, wow, I really have come very far. And then I think from an HR perspective I really think that if you have employees, just remember how lucky you are to be able
Yeah.
to affect so many people's lives and to invest in other people. It's really a gift. And I think that's an important thing to remember.
Right. That message is so deeply valuable to remember, right? To be remember that it's a gift,
It is. Yeah.
and it's a huge opportunity too. I mean, in a world that can be so unfair and
Right.
um, without values, like
Like,
you get to create as an entrepreneur, you get to create the community, you get to create the culture that you wish were the world.
right.
And right. And so you can rewire uh, how people interact with each other and create a better system for creating goodness in the world through your
Absolutely.
team. So
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
just think of like giving an offer to somebody. What did that trigger for them in their lives? They probably
Mm,
celebrated with their family. They called their mom. They called the, it's just like you maybe think, oh, I needed somebody to do this role, right? Well, but you hiring somebody was such a gift to them and triggered
yes.
something so important in their life. So to be in a position where your business is able to hire people is such a gift and shouldn't be taken for granted and should really be celebrated as well. So
That is beautiful. Oh, wow. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
sure,
Sometimes in the ins and outs of the days, we forget that. And I think that's
absolutely.
a brilliant reminder. Deep, deep wisdom. So thank you, Danielle, for
Yeah,
joining us today. Thank you.
absolutely, Coco.
Thank you for being on the wisdom of women. And thank you for illuminating the path to unlocking opportunities and growth and prosperity for women led enterprises. I value your experience and your wisdom. And for those listening, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to check out Danielle's website, foundershrlab.com. You can also email her directly at Danielle at foundershrlab.com. And you can work with her. She does fractional CRHO CHRO work. So
Yeah,
you can hire her to be a fractional part-time chief human resources executive officer. And you can also hire her for projects. So maybe you need to set up an onboarding system, or maybe you need to get your employee manual finally up and running, or you need to have a performance appraisal system. You can also just work with her, get her for an hour. You can do an advisory session with her. And, especially if you're brand new and you're not ready for a fractional CHRO. I'll stumble on that. If you're not ready for that, then that would also be a good idea. And she also does a great program for companies, a 90-day training program, an HR ramp up program. So check it out, learn more, and be sure to follow Danielle on LinkedIn, as I do as well, and continue to learn from her. And be sure to like and follow and share the Wisdom of Women show on whatever your favorite listening or viewing platform is. And to infuse more of your wisdom into your business, be sure to take the Growth Readiness Assessment. And you can do that at aforceforgood.biz/quiz. And you can uncover specific areas where your insight is most needed. The world is made better by women-led business, so let's go make the world